Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the meeting of the Tayside Valuation Joint Board. So the words I have to read to you, I want to remind you that the public part of the meeting will be recorded and placed on Tayside Valuation Joint Board's website for public viewing. Members should keep microphones on mute throughout the meeting unless they are speaking. And so, Laura, could you take us through the agenda, please?
Thank you. Thank you. I'll start by taking the roll call. Councillor Black.
Present.
Bailey Dawson.
I'm here.
Councillor Short.
Good morning, I'm here, thank you.
Councillor Scullin.
Morning, I'm here.
Councillor Shears. I've received apologies from Bailey McPherson. I believe Councillor Duncan here as a substitute.
That's correct.
Thank you. Councillor Nicholl.
Present.
I've received apologies from Councillor Fotheringham. Councillor Shepherd.
Present.
I've received apologies from Councillor Durno. I've also received apologies from Councillor McCall, so I believe Councillor Mair is here as a substitute.
Yes, I am, thank you.
Councillor Welch. Councillor Anderson.
Present.
Councillor Smith.
I'm here, thank you.
And Councillor Cuthbert.
I'm here, and sunny Forfar.
Thank you, that completes. That takes us to item 2 on the agenda, declarations of interest. Do any members have any declarations? No, that moves us on to item 3, minute of previous meeting. The minute is attached from the 17th of November for approval.
Are there any questions, corrections to the minutes? And if not, are they agreed?
Agreed.
Minutes are agreed.
Thank you. That takes us to item 4, flexible retirement policy update, and this is for approval.
Yes. Darrell, are you wanting to talk about this?
Yes, good morning all. So this report presents the revised flexible retirement policy, which is before you today for approval. The existing policy was last formally approved in 2009 and has now been reviewed. The revised policy strengthens governance arrangements and clarifies the decision-making framework, ensuring that requests are considered on a case-by-case basis with clear documentation and rationale. Flexible retirement arrangements will be agreed on a fixed-term basis with a retirement end date recorded to best support operational needs. The original policy along with the revised policy have both been included in the papers, and the revised policy is presented for approval. Happy to take any questions.
So do we have any questions? Sorry, Dave, what was that? Oh, yes. I've got 2 questions, in fact. Lynn, on you go. Councillor Short.
Hi, good morning. I've got a bit of feedback there, sorry. Is that better? Yeah. So my question isn't regards the flexible retirement per se. It's more to do with succession planning. And do you grow your own? Do you bring in from the private industry? We've seen it quite a bit across local authorities that it's difficult to maintain and bring forward new staff. So it's just with regards to what is the succession planning options if this is updated and people think, that's for me.
Yes, we do have a workforce plan which was recently reviewed, and we've actually just been through a staff recruitment and retention audit, which we'll come on to later in the papers. But I think that in relation to flexible retirement, it can only support succession planning. There are concerns with regard to the demographic of staff, with a large number at the approaching the age of retirement, and it would be there would be operational challenges we're all to leave at the one time. So we are trying to grow our own. We do have that sort of gap in the middle, if you like. So we've got a lot of trainees. The ratio's fairly high, but we still have experienced staff at the moment. And I think the enhancement of a policy like this should be a useful tool in the succession planning process.
Lynn, does that satisfy your
Yes,
first knowledge?
yes, very much so. Good to know that growing your own is definitely something that has been applied. Thanks.
Good. Councillor Shepherd.
Thanks, convener. I just wanted to know if any consideration had been given of the age of 57 to the policy rather than 55, because that would tie in with a lot of UK legislation that's coming in. I believe it's after 2028. A lot of pension funds are going to raise the minimum pension age for private funds to 57 rather than 55, and I just wondered if if we're wanting to try and encourage that. And I know the UK government's also started to promote to try and for people to work longer in the workplace, and I just wondered, like Councillor Short was hinting at, that should we be going for 57 rather than 55 here, based on creating perhaps difficulties for the running of the board? Like, people might be willing to work those 2 extra years. I think that's going to become the very commonplace age going forward, because it seems to be UK wide that's going to be the standard. So I just wondered if there was any consideration given to 57 other than 55 before we approve the policy. Thank you.
Good question, and one that I think will give Darrell a moment to think about.
Indeed. I'm just looking to the revised policy to see the reference to 55. I wonder if the question arose in relation to Appendix 2, which was the previous policy. Can I just confirm that in the first instance?
And I was reading through the papers.
I'm just looking to see if the existing or the proposed revised policy actually specifies a date, because 55 was, I think, old terminology, which is what we've sought to replace. But I'm comforted that this has been through consultation with HR. If there is an outstanding query that remains, I'm happy to take that away. I think in page, I can see 55 mentioned on page 13 of the bundle, which is actually Appendix 2. So that's just there for info, because there was quite substantive changes to the sort of the structure of the revised policy. So rather than present track changes, it was deemed appropriate to present both the old and the new. So the point in 13 is the existing policy, which we're looking to replace. So hopefully that gives you some degree of comfort in that respect.
So just for clarity, what is the minimum age at which we will allow people to retire?
So that will be the statutory pension age, which I don't think is specified, and I think that might be for good reason, because it is subject to change. Yep. So yeah, I think that's where the policy's been tidied up to remove the reference to 55, as it is subject to change, and keep the policy more future-proof going forward.
Does that clarify things for you, Councillor Shepherd?
Suppose I was really looking for a hard answer if we're going to be going for 55 or 57. Page 13 reads me to believe that it was from the 1st of April 2010, it was 50, and from this one takes it up to 55, but maybe I'm misunderstanding the papers. But yeah, I wouldn't mind some clarity on that, and if we want to, I don't know if members would want to delay it until, but if we wanted definite clarity on that. But for me, I think it's quite important for the future planning that Councillor Short, if it is a decision for us as a board to take, is it 55 or 57? I think it's one that we'll have to get right.
Bear with us, Councillor Shepherd, because I think I think things are going on in the background, which might help. Here we go, Darrell.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. I think in the revised policy at page 10 in policy statement, it states that the local government pension scheme regulations allow flexible retirement. This describes circumstances where employer's consent, a member of the pension scheme who has 2 years pensionable service and who has reached the age of 55 reduces their early work or the grade in which they're employed. So does that answer the question?
Yeah, that makes it clear that it's 55. Thank you.
But I agree, I think there is some plans to increase that, and we'll just need to keep abreast with that with future iterations of the policy.
So, Councillor Shepherd, you're not actually proposing that we increase it to 57, are we, at the moment? Or maybe you are?
No, but I think maybe a review might be appropriate once that legislation comes in after 2028. So, you know, but that might happen anyway, because I think that's going to be basically that is going to be the new retirement age for the private pensions, if I put it like that, rather than state pensions.
I'm with you. Thank you very much for that. Any more questions or comments on this report?
Yes, please, Chair.
Did somebody call out there?
It's Will, Jimmy.
Billy Dawson. You haven't gone yellow, but that's maybe just because I can't see you.
Sorry, I'm that used to doing things in the chat, Jimmy. It might be that. Plus, I don't know if it's working correctly, because we're getting a lot of feedback if County Hall's leaving their microphones on. So just to make you aware of that. My question is in relation to what I've heard in the past, which I think is the rule of 85, which I think gives local government employees the chance to retire, I think, from 60. Does that affect this policy at all? Because I'm not quite sure how that would work. It's maybe linking into the other questions that have already come in. I'm not sure.
Darrell, can you take that one on?
Yeah, sorry, can you just repeat that?
Yeah, it's in regards... Oh, sorry, would you mind muting, because I'm getting feedback. Yeah, thanks. It's in relation to the I think it's the rule of 85, which I think, if I recall correctly, because I've heard of this in the past, if an employee has served so many years, but when it's all calculated, it comes 85. I think it allows them to retire from 60. Is that still a thing? Because I know in DCC in the older days, when folk had got to a certain age, they were able to retire prior to what would be the sort of statutory legal if that rule came into force. I may be wrong, I maybe misheard it, but I do remember back in the day this being a thing in DCC.
Yeah, I'm happy to take that away rather than provide you with incorrect information at this point in time, but I'm certainly happy to look into that and come back to you on it.
Will, are you okay with that?
Yeah, okay, Jimmy, thanks.
Good. Pensions are notoriously difficult, which is why I'm not trying to answer any questions. Clearly, there's a statement of the policy in the policy that we're agreeing today, but I think Councillor Shepherd's idea of a review at some point in the future to reflect possible national changes in legislation sounds very sensible. Is the support agreed? Yep, I think so. Move on.
Thank you. That takes us to item 5, Risk Management Strategy Update, Risk Appetite, and this is for approval.
Darrell, I think there would be some discussion on this report, just a little, so can you introduce it for us?
Yeah, so this report presents a revised risk management strategy, incorporating some enhanced detail on the board's report, or approach rather, to risk appetite, which was in response to recommendations arising from a previous internal audit. So the updated strategy, presented with track changes, clarifies the distinction between risk capacity, risk appetite and risk tolerance, and sets out defined appetite categories ranging from 0 to high. It also establishes clearer escalation triggers where risks fall outside agreed tolerances. A high-level framework aligning risk appetite to key risk categories has been included at Appendix 2, and subject to approval today, the Strategic Risk Register itself will be updated to record the applicable appetite category for each strategic risk and whether it's considered within appetite. So the revised strategy is presented for approval today.
So, any questions, first of all, on the revised risk strategy? Or comments? Now, we did have a couple of... oh, here we go, Dave. Yes.
Thank you, Convener. Yeah, it's really just to verify with Darryl that this is just the first stage, and there will be a more detailed thing to come back later on with more details on how the risk strategy is going to be implemented.
Yeah, so as agreed, we took on the audit recommendation, and following suggestion at the last meeting, it was agreed that a sequential approach be taken. So we set the risk appetite strategy, and we'll now apply it through the risk register, which comes before the board each year in June.
Yes, please do.
So in essence, it'll come to the next meeting of this committee. Thank you.
Any more questions or comments on what we have before us? Anyway, not to worry. Is this report agreed?
Agreed.
Okay.
Thank you. That takes us to item 6, internal audit, and this is for noting.
Darryl, would you like to introduce the report?
Yes, so this report presents the results of the internal audit regarding staff recruitment and retention. So the overall level of assurance provided is satisfactory, which indicates that systems are operating effectively with some minor weaknesses identified. The audit recognises a number of strengths, including the existence of a workforce plan, strong uptake of mandatory training and succession planning activity. However, there is more that we could be doing, and 3 priority 3 recommendations have been recommended and accepted. Management welcomes the findings, and the actions are already underway to address the recommendations within the agreed timescales. So there's reports presented for noting today, and I think Steve McNaught from Henderson Logie may be on the call as well, if there's any additional questions for either myself or Steve.
So, are there any questions or comments? I'm not seeing any. If anyone is out there, then shout out. Okay, is the report agreed? I think so.
Agreed.
Thank you. Item 7, revenue monitoring for 8 months to the 30th November 2025, and this is also for noting.
We have Claire with us. Claire, would you like to introduce the report? Claire Gillespie.
Thank you, Convener. And good morning, Board. Sorry, I'm getting feedback as well.
That was my fault, Claire. I had the microphone on.
Okay, so the next report is a revenue monitoring report, which sets out the financial position to the end of November 25, or period date in the financial year. So the report updates the board on the current position in relation to 25-26 revenue budget. Based on expenditure up to the 30th of November, the projected outcome for 25-26 financial year is anticipating an unplanned overspend of £10,000. The projected overspend is as a result of a net position being reported in relation to projected underspends in staffing and property costs, additional income from interest, and projected overspends in supplies and services and transport. The board are asked to note the revenue position at the end of November, and the Treasurer and the Assessor will continue to monitor the outturn for the remainder of the financial year. Happy to take any questions if anything within the report is unclear.
Claire, is there anything in here we should be concerned about?
Thank you, Convener. I think that given the financial position, we're at month 8, we're relatively pleased with the performance, and there is relevant reserves if the overspend is realised towards the end of the year that we can take from to cover any overspend.
Thank you. Councillor Shepherd.
Thanks, Convener. The £4,000 overspend on transport, is that just that staff have done more miles in their journeys? Is that all that is?
I'm happy to come in on that. Yeah, I think the way that the budget has been set in years gone past, we've simply looked to previous years to set the standard, and the transport budget pre-COVID and now is unrecognisable. So it simply reflects the fact that people are undertaking more inspections in person now. So it's a gradual creep in that. So you're absolutely right. It's increased mileage from staff.
Any questions or comments? Yes, Councillor Cuthbert.
Thank you. Mine's a comment just to say that I'm very impressed with the financial control exhibited by the Treasury Valuation Joint Board, and I'd like to congratulate Darryl and his team on that.
Darryl, are you you're getting praised?
Yep, I'm happy to take it. No, it is a positive result, and I think from looking at the previous revenue monitoring budget report, it's the projected overspend is on the way down.
Well, I think it's wonderful that you can get praised. Genuinely, no one ever gets praise, so I think it's very appropriate. The finances do seem to be very well tended, so thank you, Claire, as well, for looking after us. Any other questions or comments or praise? Okay, is this report agreed? I think so.
Agreed.
Agreed. Take us on.
Thank you. That takes us to item 8, Treasury Indicators 2026-27 to 2028-29, and this is for approval.
So Claire, do you want to speak to this?
Yes, thank you, Convener. The next report is to introduce the Board's operational boundary and authorised limit for external debt for the years to 28-29. There are no direct financial implications arising from this report, as the Joint Board is not undertaking any borrowing activity. The operational boundary and authorised limit for external debt are required only due to accounting treatment introduced by the adoption of what is referred to as IFRS 16. It's a financial reporting standard that was adopted by the Board effective from the 1st of April 2024. In terms of IFRS 16, what that does is it fundamentally changed how leases are recognised in the financial statements. So prior to IFRS 16, operating leases were reported as an expense, and that was through your profit and loss statement. However, from the 1st of April, the Board are required to report leases as what's called a right of use asset, and that means that generally leases, with some exemptions, are on balance sheet, recognising a right of use asset and a corresponding liability. So the need to set an operational boundary and authorised limit are purely because of the adoption of IFRS 16. In terms of the operational boundary, what that does is that reflects the most likely or prudent, but not worst case scenario in terms of debt, and it's not significant if the operational boundary is breached for a short time. The authorised limit, however, represents the maximum amount and is set at a level that reflects plans but includes some headroom to allow movement. And the leases being carried on the balance sheet are in relation to long-term office leases. So as a result of the current values, the Treasurer is asking the Board to approve the operational boundary, which is the lower limit, and the authorised limit of 150,000 and 200,000 respectively, so that we have enough headroom for the currently long-term debt that we are carrying on the balance sheet. I hope that helps explain that paper.
I'm going to have a go and say that there's the borrowing that we are prepared to do, that we've agreed that we're willing to do if we need to, and then there's the limit, which is basically set for us by statute. So we have to have this operational boundary, and they're not necessarily the same thing. Have I said anything there that makes any sort of sense at all?
That's absolutely correct, Convener.
Good. Right. Maybe we should pass on before we try and explain this difficult thing anymore. Is there any questions on this? No, it's an accounting thing which we just have to do. Thank you. Yes. Let's move. Is the report agreed?
Thank you. Item 9, Revenue Budget 2026-27 to 2030-31. You're asked to agree the recommendations.
Is it Claire or Darrell who's going to introduce this?
Convener, I'll introduce, and myself and Darrell will answer any questions.
Good, go ahead.
So thank you, Convener. So the next item on the agenda is in relation to the 26-27 revenue budget. So this report presents the proposed 26-27 revenue budget for the board for approval, together with the associated requisitions of the 3 constituent councils and supported by a planned £13,000 contribution from reserves. The proposed budget reflects agreed pay award assumptions, some identified efficiencies and recognised cost pressures, resulting in a revenue budget of 4.3 million, with 3.3 million of which sits within council requisitions, an increase of 142,000 compared to the revenue budget last year in 25-26. There are a number, as you've noticed, a number of recommendations at part 2 of the paper for the board to approve and note. And I'm conscious there's a lot of detail in this report.
Darrell, do you want to add anything just now?
No, not at this stage.
So any questions from members of the committee? Councillor Mayor.
Thank you, Convener. Now, you probably know I was substituted at the very last minute for Councillor McCall, so I haven't had a chance to read this paper in its entirety or indeed to absorb all the information. But Councillor McCall had a question that she was going to ask, and I'm going to ask it on her behalf. If you'll just give me a second, I'll just read it verbatim, to be honest, because that's the easiest way. Okay. Her question was regarding page 59, and what she would like to ask is the amount in the proposed revenue budget on page 59 for ER recharge is 539,302, but the detailed breakdown for that charge in the table on page 61 is 591,641, and sorry, I've got something just popped up on my screen. Go away. Sorry. Yeah, the amount in the table on page 61 was 591,641, and she'd like to understand why there's a difference, excuse me, and where it's reflected in the total requisitions to the councils. Thank you.
Who can answer that question? Claire.
I'm happy to take that question, Convener. Yes. So thank you, Councillor Mayor, for your question. So if you look at Appendix B, the second table down on proposed revenue budget requisitions splits out the registration recharge and the electoral registration duties recharge. So you'll see the 539,302 and the 52,339. Within the registration and additional ER duties recharge, you're absolutely correct. That's 591,641. That is those two figures added together. So that has been brought into one figure.
Councillor Mayor, are you happy with that?
Since I didn't understand the question myself, Convener, I'm very happy with the answer. Thank you.
Very reasonable response. Any other questions or comments on this? In that case, is this report agreed? What's next?
Thank you. That takes us to item 10, Programme of Meetings, Outcome of Consultation Exercise, and I'll hand over to Willie to give a verbal update on that.
Okay, thanks very much. Okay, the outcome of the consultation which was carried out since the last meeting, 22 members were consulted across both the Valuation Board and Tayside Contracts Joint Committee. 6 responses were received from elected members, 2 from Valuation Board members only, 1 from a Tayside Contracts Joint Committee member, and 3 from members who are both members of Tayside Valuation Board and Tayside Contracts. 4 responses in effect said that they were happy with the proposed dates and times as they currently stand for programme of meetings for Valuation Board. 2 said that they would like to see some change. Both Angus Council and Perth and Ross Council Committee Services sections were liaised with also, and advocated that there be no change at this particular time. They also a bit believe. So even with the Tayside Contracts member saying that they would wish to remain the same, that still leaves you with 3 members saying that they would wish to remain as the current programme, and 2 have indicated that they would wish to see change. That's the outcome of the consultation as it stands at this present.
Are there any proposals or comments or questions? Councillor Cuthbert.
Yes, thank you, Convener. I think we're going to cover the next thing, the 15th of June meeting, next in the agenda. But I'm disappointed by this. I think we should perhaps be recirculating the questionnaire. Coming for a 9 o'clock meeting in Forfar meant I left at 7:30 this morning, got in 10 to 9. It means it's difficult to ensure you get here on time. If there's roadworks, you just don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be the same going the other way back to Perth from June for a year. On top of that, a situation arose on Friday at 3:45, which I think Daryl's going to speak about next. And it didn't give us time to actually approach officers to talk about it before this meeting. So I think if you need a couple of days of free space before a meeting like this with 3 councils involved. So as I say, I'm very disappointed with the results of that survey. And I think given that there's 22 members, I think you said, Willie, so we've only got 6 people responded. I would ask that we rethink this or recirculate it to the members and ask them again what their views are.
What do other people think? Any questions or comments? Councillor CC. That was Dave. Well, that's just ridiculous because CC doesn't spell your name, Dave. Never mind. Any comments or questions? No. I tend to agree with Dave that it's a disappointing result, but we've done it, and if people didn't respond, they didn't respond. It's democracy in action against, or democracy in inaction. We're moving to Perth. Perhaps at the next meeting we can consider this again when people have had experience of coming through to Perth through the roadworks. I think if we want people to come in person to these meetings, then we should have them in such a way that it's easy enough for them to attend. And if you're living in Highland Perthshire and you're having to come to Forfar, that's a long way, but it's the same in reverse. So maybe Angus councillors may take a different view when it's Perth and they have to negotiate those roadworks on the big road. But I think we did it, we had the consultation. I suppose we need to lay the matter to rest for now. And what I'm hoping, and I think Dave and his colleagues will ensure that this is the case, I'm hoping that the building will open officially before the start of the meeting, and the doors will open easily. I couldn't get in this morning again. I tried opening the door and it wouldn't open, but it was just stiff. Just I'm not prepared to put my shoulder against it. And I found this whole thing about Angus Council's meeting room incredibly unsatisfactory. Maybe that's just my own incompetence, but I do feel that it's not been a particularly good venue for the meeting, especially at 9 AM in the morning. It's a beautiful room though, and I appreciate the hospitality, but if we're going to have efficient meetings, then people need to be able to get in. So that's my take on it all. Are there any other councillors wanting to say anything? Councillor Cuthbert, you want to come back?
Yeah, I was just going to say that over the last week I actually emailed the Perth and Kinross Committee Services to ask that they ensure that the building's opened at 8:30 on a Monday morning, given that they'd agreed with the proposal to keep the meeting dates and times at 9 o'clock on a Monday morning. I can't guarantee that because they haven't come back yet, but I have requested that they will be available and open from 8:30.
Being told by the clerk, Bellora, that in fact Perth have guaranteed that they will open up half an hour early so that we can actually get in conveniently and without confusion. Councillor Short.
Jimmy, I was just going to add to the conversation. If this was let's say 6, 7 years ago, we would have all been up at the crack of dawn to get there in real life, but time has moved on, and it is possible to use hybrid models. So I think, you know, the feedback hasn't perhaps necessarily been what some people want, but perhaps that's because we have hybrid now. Ultimately, you know, time is precious, and doing it this way does make it a lot easier for a lot of people.
Note your comments, Lynn, and I was a great advocate of hybrid meetings myself, and I've always regarded them though as second best, and that it's better to be actually here in person if you can be. And so I'm glad to hear that Perth are going to be able to let us in a wee bit earlier so we can get prepared, get settled in, get everything working, get our papers in the right order, and have a nice civilised meeting. And of course that will include the people who are online as well. So yes, come back again, Councillor Cuthbert.
It was just to respond to Councillor Short there. It's notable that the 3 members or 3 elected members in this room at the moment are all the conveners and vice convener, the vice conveners and the convener. And it's them that are perhaps suffering the problem of having to get places on time. And I've always taken the view a convener and vice convener should be in the room at the time of a meeting, so that if the convener doesn't make it through the front door, for example, the vice convener can take over and so on. So that's perhaps why we take a different view on this.
Councillor Short, you want to come back?
Yes, Jimmy, you'll like this one. He who pays the piper plays the tune.
Oh. You say that again because I had my microphone on and the feedback drowned you out.
Yes, he who pays the piper plays the tune. I need to say no more.
That's a very oblique comment. I have no idea what it was about. Councillor.
Thank you, Convener. I was convener of this committee for 5 years and had no problem in getting to Dundee or Perth, and with the early start and we finished, that gave us the rest of the day to get on with other jobs, whereas if you want to put the meeting to more a central time of the day, there's nothing gets done in the morning and there's nothing gets done after it. We're just along for Perth for the meeting, and that's it. That's my opinion.
And I note those comments and I understand them and they're fair enough. I think we should move on because you know, the matter is resolved for now, and it may well be that members of the committee will bring it back in the future. But you know, we made a decision. So, Laura.
Apologies, Convener, before we do that, just to confirm in terms of the outcome of the consultation, that the decision of the Joint Board is that we're noting the consultation at this time and not taking any further action at this particular time, and that would be the case, yeah?
Yes, I'm happy with that interpretation.
Okay, thanks. I'll be minuted accordingly.
Thank you. That takes us on to item 11, the date of the next meeting. Currently that is proposed for Monday the 15th of June at 9 AM in Perth, and also remotely, but I'll also hand over to Darryl to address that.
Yeah, so members will be aware that Monday the 15th of June, the date of our next meeting, our proposed next meeting, has now been confirmed as a national bank holiday in Scotland. Although such a designation does not automatically bind the board, there is clear and established precedent for recognising nationally significant events. Previous examples include the Royal Wedding, the Diamond Jubilee, Platinum Jubilee, and the State Funeral of our late Majesty Queen Elizabeth II in 2022. The announcement was made recently, and it was after the papers for this meeting had been already circulated, so unfortunately the next scheduled meeting for the board falls on the proposed holiday date itself. And as a result, there's no practical opportunity to bring forward any formal report before members in advance. So in light of this, it's proposed that the matter be considered by myself under delegated authority in consultation with the convener, vice convener, spokesperson, clerk and treasurer. And this approach would allow full and proper consideration of the board's existing precedent, the financial and operational implications, which operational arrangements to apply if it were to be granted, whether both offices are closed or whether it's a day in lieu, and the approach, of course, adopted by the other 3 constituent councils, which I don't think are fully established yet, and Tayside contracts. So should the holiday ultimately be awarded, the board meeting currently scheduled for the 15th of June would require to be rescheduled. But I would seek agreement to proceed on that basis for now.
Well, I guess the Valuation Joint Board can decide when it meets and when it doesn't meet. And I know we have to look at, well, do we have to look at precedents and all of that? I'm not entirely sure it all has to be that difficult. But I think what we're being asked is to give Darrell the authority to make a decision and sort it out, and the committee services as well. And if that's what we're being asked, then I'm happy with that. That's why we pay him. And it wouldn't be a big problem to change the meeting date, I don't think. Are there any questions or comments? So are we happy to give delegated authority to Darrell to act correctly, obviously, and arrange the next meeting as and when it should be, depending on whether a holiday is declared? Obviously, if a holiday is declared, we don't want to be meeting, we want to be doing whatever we do on a holiday. So is that report agreed, or that suggestion agreed? And is that clear enough, Willie and Laura? Good. In that case, we're fine. And that means that we are coming to the close of the meeting. And thank you very much for attending, whether you attended remotely or in person. And we'll see you in Perth. Maybe not on the 15th of June, but we'll certainly see you for the next meeting. Thank you very much. Well, there is one last thing to say. Sorry, I just want to note again the praise which Darrell and Claire were given for their financial management and for the reports. And can I say that saying positive things is a really good trend and something we want to try and repeat as often as possible. So if you can think up something positive to say about the management of the Evaluation Board for the next meeting, I'm sure we'd be delighted to hear it. At the same time, if you think up things that need to be criticised, don't hold back. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.